Hello and welcome back to the Authentic Creative Expanding Our Capacity to Feel Good. I'm really excited because Akary is here. Am I saying it right?
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. And your last name, because it's not in your bio, Akary. How do
It's
you say?
Busto, Busto, Busto.
Busto is an emotional biohacker, certified heart math practitioner, which I want to get into because it's so freaking cool, and human design expert who empowers individuals to unlock their energetic blueprint and transform their lives with a unique approach that combines nervous system regulation, which we are all about, trauma transformation, and energy alignment. Akari helps clients shift from feeling stuck and overwhelmed to radiant and resilient. And who doesn't need that? Oh my goodness. So we'll put in the show notes her Instagram and you can find her there. I just want to start by saying what we were chatting about before I hit record, which is Akari, if you're listening to the audio of this, I'll describe to you, she has this incredibly gorgeous background, which is all beautifully like rich, deep greens and these beautiful green plants. And I just love it because it's like all growth and transformation and life, right? And life force. And then something I've never seen before, which I love so much, is in her description of her name, it says Akari, but then it says a 1-3 sacral generator, which is so much fun. And it's like, oh, I want to do that. I want to put my like 2-5 Manny Gen emotional authority on there. But let, I, love, I love it. So, okay, this is really fun. But I want to start with the origins of you, your life. Where were you born? What was the like first 10 years of your life like? And then we'll just kind of progress from there.
Wow, that is like an entrance here. Wow. Okay. So my name is Akari. The name in itself gives you an idea of a background that doesn't really exist because I am actually second generation Mexican from my
Okay.
father's side of the family. His family migrated from South Korea in the early 1900s, and they ended up in the Yucatan, which is very similar to the South in the United States. Like that's the
Got it.
equivalent, right? We had cotton here. Over there, we had an agave plant called the Anakin, which you could make rope out of. Yeah, so that is from my father's side. From my mother's side, I guess I could be a mutt, right? Spanish, Portuguese, and then indigenous. So mestiza from that part of the family. So a lot of indigenous Mexican roots. And my name is Japanese, except my mom put a Y instead of an I.
Fascinating. So much fun. And for you to try to explain all of that when you were growing up must have been challenging. If you even knew how to explain it.
It was a mouthful, right? Because I grew up here in the States and I grew up in a very Hispanic community. And so all the kids never really understood why I spoke fluent Spanish. And it was really fun. I didn't realize that my name was so different. And I remember making fun of like Mexican indigenous names, like Xochitl, right? It was like, oh, that sounds really funny, ha ha ha, you know. And then it's like, hello.
Yeah.
So my first 10 years of life were odd. So I was born in Mexico City. My grandmother from my mother's side is actually a US citizen. What changed for her were the borders. They were in El Paso, Texas. And if you know Mexican American history, you know that the river and the border kept changing on and off until they finally decided this is the border. And so she and her family became American citizens. And so that's what they've considered themselves, even
Wow.
though they're very indigenous from the Chihuahua area, which is the northern part of the southernmost part of Texas, where Texas and Mexico meet.
Hmm.
And so my mother decided she was going to come to the States. And originally it was just on vacation. You know, she wanted to take me to Disneyland, and she'd grown up
Mm.
going back and forth from California to Mexico City, and then just decided she didn't want to leave. And
Mhm.
so we became immigrants, and she automatically became a US citizen because of her mother, and then I followed suit. So I ended up here. So the first 10 years of my life were a lot of learning because, you know, different cultures, different languages. I think by the time I was 5 years old, I had already learned how to read in Spanish. So I just had to practice and learn my English. A lot of people have commented how I don't have an accent, which makes me sad because I really do love that Spanglish accent. Uh, and
And we know everyone has an accent. So whenever someone says you have no accent, what does that even
well,
mean?
I felt very like bland, right? Like, okay, I must be very bland. Anywho, um, I grew up fast and furious. My mother and my father separated, and then she remarried. And by the time I was 10 years old, I had three siblings.
Hmm.
And so I became the oldest of those three siblings. I was the translator for my family.
Hmm.
So I was really, I think I grew up a little faster than norm, but I don't think it would have been any different for any, you know, immigrant in this country. Someone has to be the one to learn the language and help everyone else.
I'm the oldest daughter is a special role. I know it well. Yes. And your parents divorced when you were two, three?
You know, when she decided to leave, so probably about two.
Yeah, same.
Oh, wow. Same,
Yeah,
same.
yeah.
Interesting. And where's your family from?
And then I have three siblings, all half siblings that are younger than me. And so very much felt like I was mothering them. Yes.
Yeah, by the time I was 10, I had a pretty good idea of, you know, the child rearing, and I guess what really helped was that I love children, like
Mm.
other people's kids and other people's pets. I'm here for it. Um, so yeah, so that's really in a nutshell. By the time I was 10, I was just a mini adult
Yeah. And
with
that
big girl.
translator role is fascinating, right? Because that is quite a responsibility. And it's sort of like being the bridge between worlds. And I very much understand that. Yeah. Not in that specific capacity of translator, but there is a translation between families that goes on of being the communicator
Yeah.
that I
Yeah.
definitely relate to.
And it
Yeah.
becomes a little bit of a codependent relationship because it makes people a little lazy. You know, there's not as much urgency to learn something difficult.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, it took them a while to understand that. Well, it took me a while to step into my power and be like, all right, I'm done. I'm done. And interestingly enough, they would encourage me to get these jobs where translation was something big, and it was like, why?
You're like, I don't want to do this anymore, people.
Don't even pay me for this. Like,
Yeah,
stop.
I'm good.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Got it. So tell me more.
Tell me more. So I have four siblings. So the oops baby came when I was about 15, and he's adorable and I love him, and he's a manifester, and he's all grown up now.
Uh-huh.
I decided that I was going to be a one and done kind of gal and just have a daughter who is now 23 and is a wildlife biologist.
Wow.
Very exciting. That's like my little like my mommy flex. I'm like, yeah. My contribution to the world. Um and
Amongst many.
right, I you know, I just think that there's a very there's a very real thing about having a child and not knowing what in the world you're doing or how you're doing it, And coming
Mm,
from such a chaotic background where nothing really made sense, and
mm,
you're constantly looking for outside validation or outside information to make sense of how you want to do it in the world.
mm-hmm.
And so because I came from a broken home, and my home was very chaotic, to me this is like my big flex is like, yeah, the black sheep, look what I've done.
Oh, I love that you're so joyful in your energy and you're so proud of the child that you raised, and it is your legacy, and that's a beautiful thing to be so proud of that. I love it.
Well, I think it was the catalyst to my growth, right? It was having a daughter for me was a big responsibility, because being a woman and going against the odds to create and to do things and to constantly be gaslit to believe something different.
Mm, mm, mm.
And it was in my college years where I started to go. I'm originally a history major because I love history and I'm very curious. My human design, always asking why.
Mm,
And I tapped into women's studies.
mm-hmm.
I just devoured that and understood. Have you? I don't know if your listeners have ever read Glenn Doyle's book
I just read it.
Untamed.
I just read it.
Okay, so that
I
first,
I'll tell you, I finished listening to it on Audible on the way back from Mexico about a month ago.
oh, what timing. So my favorite part is just like, it's a good book, but my favorite part was the cheetah story,
Yeah.
because I identify so much with that story. It's like I knew I was a cheetah,
Mm.
but everybody else was telling me I was a rabbit, right?
An
Like,
Energizer bunny.
right, I'm here to make babies and to like just go 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 go. I There was no way that I was anything other than that.
You're a
And
goddamn
so
cheetah, Akari.
that's right. So it gave me so much empowerment to be like, yeah, no, this isn't how it's going to be.
Yeah,
And that really, women's studies really validated what I had already felt but didn't know how to articulate.
right. Amazing. Very empowering.
Yeah.
Yeah, and how does the women's studies, I mean, it's obviously empowered you. How has that continued to inform the work you do now?
Well, it has given me a framework to understand so much more about, and the history, right? The history part is so important because I understand cultures.
Mm,
I look at the macro of what was happening in the world at that time, and then I see how that affected in the micro, because we have, when we experience big things in the world, it forms beliefs.
yeah,
And so how do we make it so that we are safe in our containers, in our vessels, in our home? It really takes understanding the macro to understand the micro.
and vice versa. And it's interesting because, like, it's in our tissues, right? Our issues are in our tissues. So
Oh yeah,
it's not just like mentally understanding it, but it's like physically, somatically understanding things are wired into us from our ancestors and from our DNA and from all of the societal agreements that have been made that we're like, no, we're going to break this chain.
absolutely. The epigenetics, the science has caught up to the woo. and
Yes, I
and
love
it's
it.
so wonderful to be able to sit in that space of we knew it, because again it goes
Mm,
back to that cheetah, right? That it's like, I knew it, I didn't, and it I guess it helps to think I no longer need validation for the thoughts that are crossing my head.
mm,
And
yeah,
so that is the message that I really like to leave women with, is that if there's an idea, if there's a thought that goes through your head around, I wonder if that's a possibility, it's the quantum field. If it weren't possible, you wouldn't be thinking it.
yes, I love it.
So yeah, it's very exciting.
Tell me more about these possibilities and when that started to fling open for you. Was that when you were studying history? Was that as you got more into your spirituality? Have you always been into spirituality? Did you have a spiritual awakening?
I think I was really young when that spiritual awakening was happening, and without any guidance, I shut it down. It was just
Yes.
kind of crazy.
Invalidated. Yeah.
Yeah, and I used to, as a child, I must have been about 9, 8, 9, 10
Hmm.
when I was experiencing a lot of insomnia, which is not something normal for kids. But then I also associate that with the chaos at home, that cortisol spikes.
Oh my gosh, can I just tell you, when I was 10, that's when I got my siblings, were birthed in through the two families I was a part of. And I used to have a recurring nightmare, which was I was in a hallway and there was one family over here and another family over here, and I'm just in the hallway. Like,
Ah,
what do I do? Where do I go? I don't belong to any family. So I'm just relating to the
I love
10-year-old
that.
hyper awareness
Yes, yes.
awakening thing you're talking about here.
It was very ridiculous. Yeah, because you don't know where you belong. There's a lot of confusion. For me, the confusion was probably when I was around 4, when my mother remarried and she
Hmm.
was getting ready to pop that first boy. I felt like it was a dream. Like it was just like such a fast dream between the time I was living with my grandparents in a calm, loving home, and then all of a sudden I wake up and I don't know what's real or what's not.
Hmm.
And so I think that all of that just really pushed me into like this moment of insomnia and having to be the guardian of everyone's sleep.
Mm.
So it I remember just shutting that down. And as it started to awaken, it would really it was always really scary. I can relate that also to human design, right? Because my emotional solar plexus is open.
Hmm.
And so if I watch, even today, if I watch something super intense,
Yep.
that lingers for days, sometimes even weeks, and it's not even mine to be carrying. So it's really interesting, when you start connecting the dots of things that you experience, it's like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah, you're so vulnerable to outside influence in that area. That's For me, it's my root, and my husband, it's his root. We both have open roots, and it's
Oh
like
wow.
it's like we just amplify each other's survival fears.
There's a lot of there's a lot of pressure in that route.
Oh yeah.
And are you guys adrenaline junkies?
Oh, I don't know about that. I mean, I think there's some cortisol addiction to heightened. We both grew up as actors,
Mm.
so probably
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense.
some addiction to some roller coasters. It's roller
Yeah,
coaster
it's
emotional. I mean, I'm emotional authority, so it's like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Is he?
No, he is splenic authority. He
Okay.
has to
Ooh,
listen to the ping.
ooh, and a projector. Ooh,
Yes,
ooh,
yes, yes.
ooh. Okay. So much to digest right there because you're a manifesting generator, all this energy. So you probably like wire him like he's just like he needs to disconnect.
Yeah, yes, yeah. I definitely encourage him. Um, Ever since I found out he was a projector, when I told him he was a projector, we were in the car on the way to Portland, and he just started crying in the recognition of that and in the relief of that, of
Oh,
knowing his design. And ever since we discovered this information, I'm always encouraging him to take time to himself, go paint some models, go take a nap. Yes, please take a nap. Whereas previously, it was like, ugh, okay, yeah, I know, he's always like, I don't know why I'm so tired. I don't know why I'm so tired. I don't know why I'm so tired. And I'm like, well, here's the 10 reasons why you're probably tired. But I never was like, yes, I understand your energy and why it's like really helpful for you to go take a nap. So the other day he went and took a nap, and then this beautiful thing that I needed to have manifested. And he's like, I should take naps more often. I said, yes, you should.
that is the sweetest story because then you realize it's not personal, it's just
That's
energy.
right. That's
It's
right.
energy. Yeah, I love that. So there's so much that I'm like ready to pick at because
Oh, please. If
I
that's
feel
fun
like
for you. If that's fun for you.
manifesting generators, it's a hybrid, right? It's between a manifester and a generator, and it's a lot. And what I notice is that not informing thing that drives me bananas, because my partner is a manifesting generator. We can walk into the grocery store at the same time. There is a non-verbal thing that kind of clicks. And so he looks at the bread or he looks at the cheese, doesn't say a word. We walk to the butcher. I start talking. I turn around and he's gone. Nowhere to be found. And so learning his type has given me more patience around it,
Yes.
right? But at the same time, he gets it too, because he'll look at me and he's like, oh, I forgot to tell you. So it just creates a lot more awareness, self-awareness, compassion, and not taking things so personal.
Exactly.
So
And
less stress.
what's interesting is I have my whole life wanted to do 10 different things or 5 different things at once, and I'll rotate those things, and then I'll get not as passionate about something, and then I'll move to the next thing. And that in our societal conditioning is not praised. And you're looked at as flaky or someone who can't focus or someone who's all over the map or what have you.
Right.
And as soon as I understood that that's natural to me, and 33%, right, of us are like that, is that the statistic? So it's,
More 35 now, but yeah.
oh, okay, so interesting. So it's like, yeah, well, and then skipping steps, I now am just like, okay, well, let's have grace for the fact that that's just sort of how I'm built, is to skip steps. And then there's sort of the repair of needing to go back to people and say, sorry, I skipped that step and didn't talk it through with you.
Right.
And that's something I'm still learning.
So in traditional human design, we really do focus on that. And the way we call that is like the not self.
Yes, yes.
In quantum human design, we say the manifesting generator gets initiated into a time bender. And your job is to skip steps because you save humanity time. And that is such a gift, right? To be able to empower a manifesting generator and saying, you are here to do a lot of different things because you don't know what's going to come into fruition, right? And I look at it as, have you ever seen like the Chinese plates that they kind of put on sticks and they're all like,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to go and give attention to one and then you have to go to the other one and
Mm-hmm.
you're doing a million different things. Each one of those plates has so much wisdom for you to tap into. So by the time you finish one project, it is so detail oriented that it's bar none to anybody else's experience. So being a manifesting generator, there are a lot of challenges because you're right. The rest of us do not understand that energy. It has to be very busy and fast and it's a lot. But when you get it, you're able to stop taking it personal. So my friends who are manifesting generators, especially the emotional ones that get really excited, it's like shiny object. I step back and I have a lot more grace for them. It's like, oh, we had plans and it's like last minute. I really don't want to do this. It's like, it's a bummer for me because I really want to hang out with you. But let me take a breath. Let me collect myself and let me move on. Like I can't sit on that.
Yeah,
I have to honor that within you to have been able to feel safe enough, first of all, to say, I don't really want to do this anymore. And
that was a big challenge for a lot of my 20s and 30s especially. Now I kind of know like to just not say yes to things.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I
That
used to
wave.
have to have friends that would understand like I might not want to go when it's time to go and it's not personal and
It
yeah.
is not personal. It is not personal whatsoever. And I think that's the challenge. But that is why it's so important to understand this human design thing. It's not just a fad. It's not just something that, is coming and going. On the contrary, it's actually here and it continues to expand and grow. and really helps us understand and raise our children. This has really helped me identify my 23-year-old, which I was laughing, I was joking. If 50 is the new 30, 40 is the new 20, 23 is the new 13. Oh my God. Right? Like the logic makes sense. Um, and she's an emotional generator. And
Hmm.
so she's got 3 emotional waves, and I have to slow her down because she just goes, and then all of a sudden she'll go, oh, look at the time, I gotta go. And I'm stuck with this story that I am 100% like invested in.
Hmm.
And she no longer cares. She moved on. She just needed to release that energy to get some clarity around it and then move on. And
Yeah.
me as a sacral being, I'm just sitting there, right? Like holding on to this, like, oh my God, there's no conclusion to this story. What am I going to do? So, yeah, it's been a really, really great learning experience. So, all of that helps me. Well, all of that plus my open G center, right, which is my open heart space that allows me to meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
That's been the easiest transition for me because I can feel you, I get you, I don't have to be you, but I can still put myself in your shoes so that I can process some of the feelings and stuff that you're dealing with to help you make better decisions.
Okay, so how does HeartMath weave into your work with human design and nervous system regulation?
So one of the HeartMath Institute, based out of Northern California, has been studying the heart for over 25 years. So many studies have been conducted by them, and we recognize, including if you're familiar with Joe Dispenza's work, it
Mm.
is based off of HeartMath. And it's the study of the heart and understanding that we have a heart brain. I
Hmm.
call her lovingly she who knows it all because it's amazing how there's a 3 to 5 feet electromagnetic field that surrounds you through your
Hmm.
heart. It's already proven, the studies are there. And when someone walks behind you and the energy is a little wonky or it's a perceived energy, right? And it's not your brain that gets the message, it's your heart that gets the message. And your heart goes, hey, brain, I think you need to turn. And then you turn and there's someone there.
Hmm.
So she who knows it all. And so when we tap into our brain, we recognize that the number one job of the brain is to keep you safe,
Yeah.
not to help you logically see things that are in your highest and best interest. It's just to keep you safe.
And also, it's a perceived safety. It might not
For
be a
sure.
literal, actual safety that's necessary. There's not really a lot of tigers chasing us anymore, right?
Right. Well, but that is the perceived threat. And the big piece about that is that it is not just a perceived threat, it's life experience and what it's recorded, right? What your amygdala and your hippocampus have recorded over time.
Yeah.
And it is rooted to, I don't know, like the first 7 years of your life. And
Hmm.
so whatever experiences you had in those first 7 years that it needs to keep you safe from
It's
as a
like
grown,
hardwired. Yeah.
yeah, as a grown person, it just doesn't jive anymore. And so it
Yeah.
creates a lot of stress, it creates a lot of shortcomings, it creates so many different blocks, right? Like, why am I blocked? Well, because you're allowing your trauma goggles to like guide you.
Yeah. Like the subconscious and that like reptilian kind of brain and that primal wiring. Okay, so you have tools to start to release all of that, right? To rewire.
So that's where I'm headed with this. So that these are all coping mechanisms that you've created, and they're outdated.
Yeah.
Just outdated coping mechanisms. And so with the heart math, we start to learn how to collect yourself. I use a biofeedback sensor that allows you to track, right? Because you want to measure this, you want to track it so that you can change it.
Okay, how does the tracker work? What is it? Is it a physical tracker? What does it look like? How do you do it?
What does it look like? Oh man, I don't have it here. It is really cool. It connects onto your ear where it
Mm-hmm.
connects into your heart, into your heartbeat, and
Mm-hmm.
it starts feeding an app all of this information. So we do heart rate variability. We look at your resting heart rate, and we can see the waves of your nervous system in real time.
Is that what these rings are doing now? That right?
Yeah, they're just different because with it, there it's a different measurement.
Okay.
We measure heart rate variability with coherence, right? We want to see the alignment between the brain and the heart.
Mm-hmm.
With these other ones, it's just a different measurement. Your HRV needs to be higher. If it's really low, it shows a lot of trauma. Like there's all these different ways of reading it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big science nerd. So with the biofeedback sensor, we're looking at the waves of your nervous system because we want to see how we're measuring coherence. And
Okay.
coherence is, the alignment. And it's so fun
So,
because
so when you to just to back up, when you say that, do you mean the literal like synchronous, the syncing of the rate that your heart is um, pumping blood is somehow similar to what's happening in your brain waves? Or
that's what it is, where we're connecting the brain waves, right? We're
Mhm.
measuring the brain waves through the heart space, right? Because we can't connect the biofeedback sensor. One of those like fancy schmancy stuff would be like thousands upon thousands of dollars to just invest in it. And then just the connecting into the brain. So this one we're doing heart waves.
Mhm.
So we're able to measure your coherence, the alignment. And so my favorite thing to do is to watch someone say, I was calm, and then measure and realize that that wasn't calm. It
Mm,
was just like your baseline, your normal, but that wasn't really calm.
right.
And then as we're tracking it, as we're measuring it, we start to do these techniques, which then starts realigning your heart and your brain. And then that's where it's just magical because we start to go deeper in and trusting our heart space, trusting what our heart is telling us, and so many different techniques that we're using, as well as learning the science of it and utilizing it so that it becomes a response. It becomes a new coping response for you. So in that moment where you feel really triggered, there's like a 3-second pause that says, do you really want to say that? Or do you just need to hear yourself say it? And you can make a conscious decision in those 3 seconds of whether it is smarter to stay away or if, whatever, I'm going to say it anyway. It's going to cause chaos. Here we go. But at least you're doing it with more awareness as it starts to really open what we call like that window of tolerance, right? Because that window of tolerance can be really skinny or really wide. And that's the whole point of this is like we want to open up that window of tolerance so that you're able to make these decisions in those moments where it's it's that one step before you can mess it all up, right? And you're just like, oh, I shouldn't have said that,
Hmm.
or I should not have done that. So it gives you the opportunity to make better decisions by buying you more time.
Right. Interesting, the window of tolerance, because our subtitle here is expanding our capacity to feel good. And I think there is a relationship between building a wider window of tolerance and our expanding our capacity to feel good.
And I think that is really the magic of my joy. This practice is something that even I, after all these years, reconnect right back to it because it's like going back to basics and it feels so good.
Mm.
It's
Will
just a
will
feel
you
good.
walk us through an example of
Yeah.
you get the stimulus, you get the trigger, the initiation of what that is, you feel the experience, maybe your heart starts pounding and then how you expand that window and then how you can react differently.
the this is a baseline shifter. So you just remember to connect into your heart, which is probably the hardest thing to do when you're triggered.
Mm.
But this is why we do it and we do it and we measure and we measure because it feels so good. Your body immediately wants to do this. And after we continue to practice, it becomes one of those habits. That's why I'm saying this is like the baseline shifter. This is what's going to start to shift how you react and teaching you how to respond because you continue to buy time. And so you connect right into your heart and you can have your eyes open or you can close your eyes. And then you imagine that your breath is flowing in and out of your heart space. And just allow yourself to breathe in and out of that heart space. I like to imagine that when I inhale, my heart grows 3 to 5 feet outside of my body. And because I love the color green so much, and it happens to be the heart chakra color,
Right.
I imagine that color green. And just imagine every inhale, it grows and expands, and every exhale, it allows you to soften your heart. Inhale, it grows. Exhale, you start softening your body. Good. And now I'm going to invite you to start breathing a little slower and a little deeper than usual. And just find an easy rhythm, something that feels so good for you. Whatever that looks like, there's no judgment, no right or wrong, just this beautiful connection with your heart. And when you notice the shift, take in your time, flip your eyes open. How was that?
Everything feels fuzzy when I open my eyes, like in a really lovey-dovey way. I
Yeah.
feel calmer. I love the visual of seeing the heart green and expanding so huge outside of my body. I've never thought of that visual before. I've thought of the aura and the layers of the aura, and I used to say seven and now I say nine because of human design. But I've never pictured that specific visual and breathing with the heart in that way, and it's beautiful.
It's very powerful
Yeah.
because it really gets rid of any stress that's kind of hanging out.
Hmm.
It breaks through it. It almost feels like it releases anything, especially, you feel like you're carrying the whole world on your shoulders.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, there's no weight to carry. So freeing.
It's so perfect, the weight of the world on your shoulders, because that's exactly where I hold. And I think so
Right.
many of us hold our tension and our weight in our jaw, the back of our neck, the top of our shoulders. Yeah.
Yeah. The issues are in our tissues.
I love that you're doing this work and that there's so much science behind it and your history and your background of your growing up and all of the discoveries that you've made and being a mom has informed everything that you do. It's just very comprehensive. You're very dynamic, Akari. Like you have all of these different inroads for your wisdom, and I think that's probably why, a big reason why you're so effective in your work is because you do have all of the experiences we learned about from growing up and being a mom, and then your curiosity around history and math and the heart and the brain and the body and all of those connections and the science that makes you so lit up. Like, then we add the human design in there, and you've got all the energetics covered, the somatics covered. It's like, ooh, very comprehensive, very dynamic, very wholesome, all encompassing. So I feel like I just had a beautiful healing and a beautiful insight into the story of your life and your story arc. Is there anything that's like really, really exciting for you? Because there's a lot that we didn't cover, and just maybe touch upon the thing that feels like it might be a missing piece that we haven't talked about.
I don't think there's a lot of missing pieces. I think everything is really, when you look at the whole thing as a whole, one of the name of my business is Akary Mind, Body, Soul, because I believe that being human is very complicated and it takes a three-legged stool to have it, go forward. It's just so complicated. And if your body isn't feeling well, then your mental, your mind, your body, your soul is not going to be all together. So it's really trying to work at all of them a little bit to make it more effective.
Yeah, like three pillars is so foundational. It gives you that foundational way of being able to operate in the world
Yeah.
on all levels. Yeah.
And the big reason why I started working with women is because, as I mentioned earlier, I love children and I believe that children are our future, but not enough of us are aware enough to respect children with what they deserve. And so indirectly I honor them by working with the women. Women change the world, women change lineages. It really is up to us. And the man is the head, the woman is the neck, and we get to tell the head where to go. So my focus is to help women make better choices and respond differently so that these children can be guided into a better place. I'm in the middle of putting a little 6-week summer course that is around teaching parents their children's design, what that means,
Yeah.
and
Great.
how to help them with communication and the mistaken motivations around how we look at children, just because I feel like it's something that we really do not talk about enough, how children step into the bigger picture with human design.
Yeah, like for example, I'm just thinking two things. One is my son's a generator. When I told him about the child generator explanation from this book that I had, he just got in my face and he said, "See, mommy? See?" He felt so seen.
Hmm.
The other thing is, I'm thinking about this example of my youngest, who's 9. His appetite is such that he doesn't like to eat very much at the time that we all eat. Now, in traditional societal conditioning, we would say you can't get up, finish your dinner, all the programming, like what's wrong with you? But as I've started to learn more and more about human design and just, conscious parenting, I understand that there's rhythms and appetites and ways that his body works that I do want to respect and listen to and honor.
Yeah. Yeah. And how powerful is that? Not just for you to look at his unique little self, but for him, what does he take into the world of feeling honored? And that's his normal. So wherever he goes, someone doesn't respect it, he's going to have big boundaries around.
He has no problem knowing what he wants, when he wants it, how much he wants. He's just, I love it. I'm like, yes, can I be more like that, please?
Yeah.
He's got really clear boundaries. Like, I want to be left alone right now. He loves his alone time, It's
Yeah.
great. Or like
I
what he deserves. Oh my gosh, Akari. Since you were talking about children, what did he say? Oh, I said I wanted to make plans for him for the weekend, and he didn't want to do that. And he said he wanted to stay home and just, do his thing. And I was like, okay. And he goes, I deserve it.
well, no one's arguing about that.
He's like, I worked really hard this week at school. I deserve it. And I was like, bless your heart.
That is
I,
so sweet. That is so sweet. Yeah, I have a nephew. He's 5 years old and he is the cutest thing. He's a manifester. So he goes into anger really easily. And it's so cute because I found these beautiful little books about the dragon who
mhm.
gets angry,
Yeah.
It just really helped him see himself in that little dragon. And help regulate his nervous system through seeing it, right, in a little
Mm.
book and identifying himself in this little book. So, yeah, there's just a lot more out there. It's just a matter of being curious as a parent and trying to figure out ways that we can parent without being so arrogant about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you notice when you're parenting, you're like, oh, that's something that my parents always said, and I'm not even thinking about it. It's just coming out. It's not a conscious choice or decision. It's just like an automatic thing. And then you realize, okay, wait, does this make sense in this present moment?
Yeah. 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 I guess that was my favorite part about parenting was watching her. It was like an experiment. Right? She used to be really clumsy and would drop her milk and then she'd say, "I'm sorry, mommy." Like, and I was just like, "You just drop the milk. I don't know what the fuss is all about." And that's what started to get me really curious about DNA, epigenetics, past lives. And the more I go into it, the less I believe in past lives and the more I believe it's the epigenetics, it's the DNA that comes through. How big of an impact something had in an ancestor that it got coded into the DNA.
Yeah.
And so when people come work with me, I collaborate with a shaman in Mexico and we do family constellations, but with water. So it's like a
Mm.
little pool of water and the little figurines are swimming in the water and you can see the energetics of it. And she and I work very similar. We want to go to the root cause of things. And so me talking to someone because I see patterns and I see things and I can really just talk to them about what is happening, but then visually seeing the narrative of that story play out in the water, it's just so validating and so powerful. And so we
Wow.
shift these stories and we recognize that we have unconscious loyalties out of blind love
Mm.
with different ancestors. And when you start to tap into that story, it just all makes sense.
Mm.
It's mind blowing. You're just confirming something that you knew but didn't quite know. And
Yeah.
that unconscious loyalty.
Wow.
And
Yes,
and
that is deep. And if you can break that up and just seeing it is a healing.
oh, it is the seeing it because it's the water and the energetics that are moving around. You're not touching anything. You're seeing it play itself out. And then the other piece that causes a lot of confusion for people is in our family systems, like you and I, in our family systems, we were we grew up a little too soon. So it means that we filled a gap in that family system. So we were not in our place as children. And so to a certain degree, we end up taking our grandparents' place. And so you're way out of your space. So when you start to recognize that
The
you're like carrying
the
10
parentified
people.
child. Yes,
Yeah, when you're
yes.
carrying all these people and you finally take that energy off and you refuse to put it back on, for me when I saw that for myself and how I was carrying everyone, I was like, no wonder all
Hmm.
this confusion because I'm not here to be my mother's mother. I'm here to be my mother's daughter. And whether
Yes.
she wants it or not, I have boundaries and I constantly have to say, you're the big one, I'm the small one. What are you going to do? I'm not here to make these big decisions for you. You are. So, really empowering her to take back her power because she's given it to me. And
Mm.
I don't need it. I don't want it. It doesn't feel good.
Gosh, yes, this I feel like we could dive, dove tail into, it could dovetail into a whole second podcast. But just for today, let's just say we've covered the whole gamut and it's awesome. And I'm so appreciative and grateful. And your energy is awesome. And I just feel so enlivened by this dialogue. So thank you. And guys, if you're listening, well, of course you're listening, um, check out Akari and what she has to offer. I'll put links in the show notes and we can go further if you guys want to go further and ask her more and get into her world. And maybe do this summer workshop that she's going to be offering if that's interesting to you. And I can't wait to continue to collaborate with you, Akari. I'd love to have you on one of my panels of a whole group of fabulous women that you could be a part of. That would be so much fun going forward. So, thank you so much. And those who are listening, keep expanding your capacity to feel good, one breath at a time. Loving you. Thank you, Akari.
Thank you.